Quiet.
Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead.
can you state
She's asking a
categorically,
question. Don't
Mr.
be
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be
You are
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can
No,
you
I'm
give
not
us a
going to give you a
question?
question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir.
I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Dave versus the MSM. I'd like to thank you for joining me today. We are here on this platform probably just temporarily at this point. Why? Because we've been targeted, have been all along, but they've upped their targeting. And they've made it clear that our time here is fleeting, which is why we are always available for you 24/7 at davejanda.com. You can live stream our radio show every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern free. Go to davejanda.com, hit the listen live button. If you want the podcast, it's part of our incredibly priceless subscription service that we only charge 30 cents a day, $9 a month. You don't have to sign up for a whole year, $9. The biggest bang for the buck in all the internet, because you will never get the guests and the analysis that we provide en masse on our website. We provide that as a public service. And the charge is minimal. Although, realistically, rather than 30 cents a day, people have told me, gee, Dave, with all the information you provide and the impact, positive impact it has made on my life and my family's lives, I'll pay many times that amount. Well, we keep it reasonable, because in these economic times that are incredibly difficult, and that's not by accident, as we pointed out before, we want to have as many people access that, but there are costs to doing business. And we minimize those costs as much as we can, even though they're ever increasing, and that's not an accident either, because the cult wants to use inflation to destitute as many people as possible so that you will come running to them. You see, they've upped their game because not they're so powerful, but because they're desperate. They're desperate because people, by the many millions, have awakened to their operation, their freedom-stripping operation. And in fact, the curtain, the title of today's presentation, the curtain is in fact falling right on the cult. And they're panicked and they're desperate. Christopher Hedges recently stated, quote, political analyst, "We now live in a nation where doctors destroy health, lawyers destroy justice, universities destroy knowledge, governments destroy freedom, the press destroys information, religion destroys morals, and our banks destroy our economy," end quote. And true. And here's the interesting thing. That's not obviously incompetence that this is happening. It's willful. It's planned. There are no coincidences. But the good news is that millions of people have awakened to what they're up to. And that's not because of the tentacles own deep state mainstream media that I take on every week, actually every day, and their propaganda and misinformation and disinformation that puts you in harm's way. You see, people no longer, for the most part, there are still some people out there in the People's Republic of Ann Arbor who have their head up their derriere, who still will say, oh, the mainstream media is wonderful. Okay. They're hopeless, and they're actually the first that will be victimized when it all hits by the cult. But you won't, because you're educated and empowered with independent information, and hopefully you take that information and help others with it. And this is why the cult is desperate and panicked. Because the independent media, of which this platform is a part of, a significant part of, in my opinion. You might disagree, but that's fine. has been calling them out and exposing them, which is why they target us, which is why they alter view counts here, alter your notifications, alter comments, alter even thumbs up. That's how petty and desperate they are. Which is why DaveJanda.com is so important, because everything's uncensored there. But just look at what's come out recently. And the curtain is falling on the cult because it's being exposed. Before the 2020 election, the people in the People's Republic of Ann Arbor, Dave, you're talking about that Hunter Biden laptop, and it's a couple months, a month or two before the election. You're saying that it's legitimate. It's not, because there are these 50 high-level intelligence officials who sent a letter, put their names behind it, saying that it's Russian disinformation. No, it's actually true what's in that laptop, what's being reported and being said. That's what I'm hearing from my contacts that I trust for decades' time. And it shows that there's a money laundering operation between the Biden crime family and China and Russia and Ukraine and the Middle East and many Middle Eastern countries. And that will put our country in harm's way. And all these officials are globalist cult, bought and paid for, I'll be kind, puppets. Now this comes out 3 years later. The 50 former intelligence officials who falsely accused the Hunter Biden laptop of being Russian disinformation in a letter in 2020 stated was organized by former CIA officials. Mike Morell, bad guy, cultist extraordinaire, former acting director of the CIA, on request of the Biden campaign, stated, according to new testimony to the House Judiciary Committee, stated that he was approached by the then now Secretary of State Anthony Blinken on behalf of the Biden campaign to make that up and to get as many people to sign that letter so that it could be used to get Biden elected. There are several surveys, one of which that said 17% of Biden voters, another one who said over 40% of Biden voters, if they actually thought that that letter was in fact bogus, and in fact the Hunter Biden laptop was legit, the information, that they never would have voted for Biden. So in other words, here is you want election interference. You don't even have to go to the machines. You don't even have to go to the drop boxes. You don't even have to go to the mules. You don't have to go to the ballot harvesting. You don't have to go to the fake voter rolls. You don't have to go to the no ID issues. You don't have to go to the signature verification issues. You don't have to go to the chain of custody issues. If you just look at this little thing here. Election interference. The same people, the intelligence agencies that were involved in the election interference in 2020, we know was now the election interference on behalf of Hillary Clinton in 2016. Because she just paid a fine to the Federal Election Commission because she paid for Christopher Steele, that guy who came up with that dossier that was found to be fraudulent that the Mueller investigation was based on. And put our country through heck and high water for 4 years, the whole time, to try to paralyze the Trump administration from doing anything that related to freedom and liberty and free markets. Morell further explained that one of his two goals in releasing the statement, that letter, was to help then Vice President Biden in the debate and to assist him in winning the election. Yeah, can you say election interference? Based on Morell's testimony, it's apparent that the Biden campaign played an active role in the origins of the public statement, which had the effect of helping to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story and preventing American citizens from making a fully informed decision during the 2020 presidential election. And then when Tony Bobulinski had come forward before 2020, and a number of us stepped in in support of him and the information he was providing, and the money laundering activities. That's conspiracy. Stop it. knows the truth. And it's coming out, and the curtain's falling, and they're panicking. Biden administration mishandling Hunter Biden investigation, says IRS criminal supervisory agent in charge of probe. This from Zero Hedge. In what should come as a surprise to absolutely no one, surprise to a number of people out there, an IRS supervisor has stepped forward to blow the whistle on the Biden administration for improperly handling the criminal investigation into Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden. In a letter sent to Congress by a, quote, career Internal Revenue Service criminal supervisory special agent, end quote, the whistleblower claims to have information that would contradict sworn testimony by a, quote, senior political appointee, end quote. That would be the Attorney General Merrick Garland. Yeah. Can you say impeachment? Yeah. Oh, by the way, when we're talking about impeachment, what about impeaching Blinken as Secretary of State because of his role in election? Yeah, right. Let alone criminal charges. As well as a failure to mitigate clear conflicts of interest in the ultimate disposition of the case. What's more, the supervisor says he has evidence showing preferential treatment in politics, improperly infecting decisions and protocols that would normally be followed by career law enforcement professionals in similar circumstances if the subject were not politically connected. I've told you that when the public is wise to issues and the public then contacts their elected representatives or whatever, they're not really representatives, elected cultists, remember, whether they have an R or D after their name, doesn't matter. They're all part of one party, the Republicrats. As I've told you for 12 and a half years on the radio, owned and operated by a criminal syndicate, whatever you want to call it, the globalist cult, the New World Order crowd, the criminal international banking syndicate, the globalist syndicate, or the global, whatever. It's all the same. But when you contact them and they start hearing this a lot, they get worried. And then they go, uh-oh, jig's up. Curtain's falling. Don't want it to fall on me, so I got to make it look like I'm doing something about this, so I'm going to bring this out because I don't want the curtain to fall on me, because that way, if it falls on me, I can't sit in my big fat leather chair and get paid huge benefits and have this great job where I don't really do anything all day, but I make all kinds of money on insider trading because that's legal if I'm in Congress. And right? They make $100,000 a year, and then they're there for, let's say, 6 years, and then they all have like $20 million in their bank account. How do you do that? Yeah, right. Okay. Federal prosecutors reportedly are now considering, when we were talking about this 3.5 years ago, federal prosecutors reportedly considered charging Hunter over a year ago for 3 tax crimes and 1 gun crime, charges allegedly blocked by 2 Biden administration political appointees within the Department of Justice, one being Merrick Garland. Well, now they're actually considering following through on that. Why? Because you and millions of others, Americans, called their elected cultists and said, what are you doing? Because if you're backstopping this garbage, guess what? We're going to vote for somebody to primary you out so you can't sit in your big fat leather chair. We might even recall you. Oh, okay. They say to their administrative, get me the IRS on the phone. Hey, listen, I'm getting a lot of heat, and I'm getting a lot of it from, many of my constituents about this. Something has to happen here. You need to make something happen, or we're all out. The jig's up. The curtain's falling. That's the phone call that happens. The curtain's also falling on their false narratives that they've been handing out. Remember, the entire non-binary conversation has been about all these people are victims. They might be in some respects. But they're just all, 100% of them are peaceful. And they're all victims. But wait, let's talk victims. Nashville officials says that the school manifesto is astronomically dangerous. And it shows that there is a contingent that is far from peaceful. 3 kids, 3 dedicated, educating adults were taken down by this person who supposedly was in the 100% peaceful group. The curtain's falling on their narrative because it's been all being exposed as a lie. Whether it's Hunter Biden's laptop, whether it's the 50 CIA intelligence, FBI intelligence officials, or this one. Remember, I've told you, one political party. Got a lot of heat from it from the very beginning. I've been telling people I've known for over 30 years that there's one political party. 12 and a half years since I started the radio show, the very first show. Talked about this. Bush, Obama, and Clinton partner with corporations and Soros-funded non-governmental organizations to fly migrants into U.S. interior. Yeah, they're all globalist cult members. And part of their agenda is a borderless society. It's part of the cult's agenda. And many of us who've been saying this for many years, and look at the experts we have come on our platform. Michael Cutler, Victor Avila. Victor Avila, great guy. Hero. Michael Cutler, hero. Great guy. Providing information about what the agenda of the cult is and how this adversely affects public health and the security of every American. And Obama and the Bushes and the Clintons are decimating. We want legal immigration. We do not want illegality. And Bush and Obama and Clinton and Biden are wrapped up in that illegality. And it's been exposed. To the point where the globalist cult rats are now eating other demented globalist cult rats. New York Democrat Mayor Adams says the migrant crisis has destroyed New York City, and the Biden administration has turned its back. The mayor of New York City, this is from Zero Hedge, says that illegal immigration crisis has destroyed a city, and noted that the Biden administration has done nothing to help deal with the problems they created. Why are rats turning on other rats? Because they feel the curtain coming down on them. And they're trying to push that curtain away, so they're coming out against other rats. This guy also, I believe, and as I mentioned before in a number of videos, they're trying to move El Demente out because they have come to the conclusion he can't carry their water, just as they moved Boris Johnson out, just as they moved the Prime Minister of New Zealand out, just as they moved the Prime Minister of Finland out. When they can't, Merkel out in Germany, when they can't do the job, bye. Everybody's expendable to the cult, the higher echelon of the cult. So if your name is Rothschild or Rockefeller, Lazard or Pincus or Warburg or Loeb or Sieves, or the very top of the pyramid, Pessoa, all of them are unexpendable. But everybody else, because all these cult members, middle-level cult members like Bush and Clinton and Obama and Biden and Pelosi and Schumer and McConnell and McCarthy and Ryan, they're all expendable. They're all expendable. They don't think they are, but they are. It's all being exposed and the curtain's falling. What they're doing to the economy is becoming very evident. All you have to do is pump some gas. See, and these cult members never pump their own gas, including The Secretary of Energy, Jennifer Granholm, the former governor of this POW camp, the largest POW camp in all of North America, that being the state of Michigan, now under the auspices of Colonel Klink herself, from Hogan's Heroes, incompetent commandant, Gretchen Whitmer, who's the current commandant. She's never pumped her own gas. Are you kidding? Jennifer Granholm, the current Secretary of the Energy, who wants to make all military vehicles electric. Hey, let me ask you something. How many battlefields are you aware of that have charging stations? Huh? How many? How do you think those EV-powered airplanes, what kind of range are they going to have? How about an EV tank, huh? Can you imagine that one? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I can go 4 feet and then my charge runs out. Yeah. The cult expects you, or had expected you, to believe these buffoons. And many people did for a period of time, but when economic hardship hits, many people start questioning a lot of this stuff. And then when it affects their health, like the past 3 years, it really calls them into question, and the curtain's coming down. You see, what they thought was going to be the curtain coming down, the iron curtain of their totalitarian rule, it turns out that curtain, rather than closing on the freedom and liberty of every American, every person in the world, that curtain is actually falling on them, the cult members. And their policies are leading to the cult to be exposed, and to themselves have their own financial difficulties. Whole Foods closes its flagship San Francisco store just after a year due to crime. See, another story of this from Zero Hedge, of a major company leaving a U.S. city. This time it's Whole Foods in San Francisco that's closing after barely open a year. The location in question is a 64,000, not a little, 64,000 square foot flagship Whole Foods store. Because things have run amok. The Whole Foods market at 8th and Market Streets is reportedly shutting down this week due to concerns about safety for their customers and their employees. Why? Hey, could it be their border policies? Yeah. Maybe that's it. Maybe the fact that their Soros-funded district attorneys aren't prosecuting crime about their city councils that are all funded by the cult are not Yeah, the curtain's falling. And it's fallen on the cult. Walmart abandons unprofitable Chicago stores after investing hundreds of millions in the city. Yeah. Another ramification, right? So even the big companies run by the cult are reaping the falling of the curtain. And speaking about falling of the curtain, part of their curtain falling operation that's killing them, the cult, that's really wiping them out, is the exposure of what they tried to do instituting their Great Reset with that Russia-Ukraine debacle that U.S. taxpayers have generously funded at least $120 billion of our tax money, at least that we're aware of, not including black budgets. That's a quagmire, a disaster. And that was going to be used as a spark to institute what they wanted, the cult. Remember, the cult always benefits out of these wars. Because out of the wars, they get more power, more control, and more financial resources, while all of us, as they call useless eaters, the 99.9% of us in the population, we're the ones who go to war. We're the ones who die, our family members. We're the ones who get wiped out financially. You want to know the ramifications of their wars? I recently did an interview. I was on the subscription side. It's worth 10 years of $9 a month as far as inspirational value. My interview I did with Captain Charlie Plum former F-4 fighter pilot, shot down over North Vietnam, was held in captivity for 2,103 days. Everyone who has seen that video interview, they tell me it has changed their lives. Changed their lives of how they look at life and how they look at adversity and how to deal with the current adversity that every single one of us around the world is experiencing through the hands of the cult, in particular over the past 3 years, because all of us have been treated like prisoners of war. Physically and psychologically. I can't go any further on this platform saying other than that. You got to watch that video. You have to. It is an incredibly important life lesson that Charlie Plumb delivers on how to survive and how to make lemonade out of lemons, in spite of being physically and psychologically tortured. You want war? Charlie shows what war is like. From the useless eater perspective, us who aren't part of the elite who benefit from war. And people like Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, has fought the cult. He's fought the middle-level puppets like Soros and Biden and Schwab. Prime Minister Viktor Orban says that U.S. cannot push Hungary into war, and the rest of Europe would be wise to follow his policy. This from Tom Brook. Constant attacks directed at the Hungarian government from the United States globalists, including Biden, do little to differentiate the U.S. from the bullying superpowers it seeks to distance itself from. Despite pressure from the U.S., Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban said his country cannot be pushed into joining the war on the side of Ukraine. Quote, the United States has not given up its plan to squeeze everyone, including Hungary, into a war alliance to go with the crowd. But I have made it clear several times, and Hungarian diplomacy has also expressed this, that the will of the Hungarian people is clear and our knowledge of history is quite solid. We will not allow this. We will not allow them to squeeze us into a war. We will not send any weapons, and we will not be involved in a conflict that is not our war. End quote. The curtain is falling on the cult and on their agenda. And a big part of it is because you have tuned out the bought-off lamestream fake media that some still call the mainstream media. And you've tuned into the independent media, of which this platform, Operation Freedom and DaveJanda.com, are significant parts. And then you've taken the information we provided, and hopefully you'll do that with this video, and network it to everyone you know and love. And in the process, empowered them. I thank you for joining me today. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. We are available 24/7 at DaveJanda.com. We hope you become part of our freedom family and join for 30 cents a day, $9 a month. That Charlie Plumb interview is worth a minimum of 10 years of subscription fees. Promise. I thank you for your time. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for joining me.